Hi creator friends, this is Soraya and thank you so much for being here. So what I'm going to do today is I have been working on this cover that started off being just a front cover separate from a back cover, and then I decided that I wanted to turn it into one piece. But I'm not really sure if I want to keep this image. To me, this is like a ghost image, and what I mean by that is it started off like, oh, I'm gonna make a lady with a face and just the upper part of her like shoulders, etc. But now I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to do that. It worked when this was going to be a separate front cover, and this a separate back cover, but now that I'm making it all into one piece, I don't know. And also too, when I first started working on this art journal and even the cover, I didn't know what the like theme of my art journal was going to be, and now I have decided that it is going to be about the divine feminine. I don't know exactly where it's going to lead, or how I'm going to explore that theme. Am I going to explore that theme via color or line or narrative or archetypes, or like, I don't know, or maybe like a combination thereof. But I do know that I want this art journal to be about the divine feminine. So that being said, I don't know, I may keep this image, but I don't know. So anyways, what I started doing is I started working in my studio log, and what I've been doing recently-ish is I have started adding images to my studio log as well. So basically what happened is about 9 or 10 years ago, when I was in Oaxaca, I was on an art retreat with brilliant artist Connie Solera, and she introduced the concept of a studio log. And basically I have made another video about the studio log, but I'll just like briefly recap it. She basically said it is a space where we can communicate with our art. So that was like a really huge idea to me, and it was a portal into like a much deeper layer of me working, and it just changed things for me immensely. So at first it was like very tentative, but as I started doing more and more of my communicating with my art, it just started taking on different forms, if you will. So everybody's going to work in their studio log differently. If you are going to work in a studio log, there's no right or wrong way. And I'm sure it's going to change with maybe, say each piece that you're working on, the way you communicate in your studio log, it might evolve, or as you evolve as an artist and as a person, a human being. All of these things are not static. They're going to evolve, they're going to change. So in the beginning, I just started, like, I was doing a lot of like writing, journaling with my art, but then what I realized is I can strengthen my visual language by writing and getting to know my symbols, my colors, in my studio log. And I just started really just going into great detail about the things I'm attracted to, the things I'm not attracted to, the things I'm repelled by, the things that make me curious, the things that make me inspired, etc., etc. And I just found that by doing that, I could really strengthen my knowledge and use of what my visual language is, and also like help it like continue like growing, evolving. Of course some things are going to stay the same, and then some things are going to change, like even with my visual language. So anyways, I'm sorry for that big song and dance, but I think it's important because I have talked about this before, where for me, like what I realized is, for me to strengthen my visual language and to put meaning into my work, to create work with meaning, I became obsessed with my visual language. Like nothing was too small, nothing was too inconsequential. Like every single thing is important, because the more I understand my visual language, the more I'm going to be able to kind of take that visual language of mine and be able to translate it into my work. I'm going to be able to create work that's really rich and deep and meaningful, and that's going to hold up, over the years. And what I am starting to look at in my studio log is I'm starting to actually view my studio log as the medial woman, because this is like an incubator. And this is a way I'm now starting to understand my practice of using a studio log is whatever I am exploring, like this whole, like this container is the medial woman, because it is taking things from my psyche. It's taking ideas and half-formed thoughts and colors and lines and just a little bit of that, a scrap, a little, bit of a memory or a dream or something I read somewhere, a line, a poem, whatever. I'm taking all of those things and I'm putting it down in this like incubator type of situation. And it's just percolating, it's sitting here, it's maybe evolving, it's growing, it's transforming, it's a seed, it's little bits and pieces of this and that. And I think the gardening analogy is really good, because it's like little pieces of compost. You're just taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you're putting it in your compost bin, and over time it is going to give you that rich, fertile, black compost that, holds everything that is going to grow and bloom into whatever you plant. So I'm starting to look at it more in that way. And I'm also looking at it like I am bringing things from just the deepest layers of my psyche, and I'm putting it on here, and then I am, at some point, it's going to kind of like come out in my art. And in this specific case, I am using it for this cover. So this, I'm just going to read some of it, and this is the way I work. This is the way I'm working present day. I did not work like this 10 years ago. But like I said, things evolve, and I want them to evolve. So basically this art journal is going to be about the divine feminine. So I just wrote down here, divine feminine. What are the colors that come up? Like, this is all personal to me. Now, somebody else, they're going to have a completely different visual language, symbology, etc., etc. And then I put red, red, and more red. Now, this is no surprise to me. I am Indian. The red is just the color of the divine feminine. Red is the color of life, creativity, Shakti, which is all encompassing. So I continue writing. All kinds of red: lush, rich, deep alizarin crimson, slow, thick, heavy cranberry red, cad red, light vermilion, tika, which is the tika red, which is when a woman gets married and she puts the red in her on her forehead and then in through her hair. Blood red, creativity red, fury red, light pink red, stubborn red, innovative red, and then I just go on and on and on. Blue red, clay red, clinging red, primordial red, envy red, crimson, blush red, wild red, and I'm just going on, like red, 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 red. So what I realized is that I want more red in my spread over here, because this is about the divine feminine. And then what I've also started doing is putting like, that didn't stick. I've been putting like also a lot more images in my studio log. And sometimes it's just, I'm just like very quickly, almost not even really focusing so much on the details, but just trying to get the emotions. And then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll be like, oh, I love this like spiral, this just like, oh, it's so much, like it's so energetic, it's just got so much, it's holding so much weight, and I just love that. So hey, maybe I can replicate that. Another thing I've been doing is Um, you know, a lot of like times, like say this here, which is the red, you know, the bindi in my culture. So that is a circle and it's red and it's all encompassing. And you know, I think I've mentioned this before, red is the color from birth to death. It encompasses everything, and this is from Indian symbology, you know, archetypes, cultural connotations, etc. There are no negative meanings to the color red in India, in Indian culture, in Indian society, whereas in the West, there are, you know, red has like positive and negative meanings, but in India, it only has positive, you know, to red. And every red has its own thing. Like, you know, there's no like such thing as red. It's Tika red, it's vermilion, it's this. It's like every red is very specific and they all mean something different a lot of times. But red is the color of everything in life from birth to death. And you know, I look at this and I'm like, oh, like I really love this. I love these lines. I love the red. I love that, like, you know, the just the element of just the way it's like moving with the black in, I don't know if the, like, you know, the camera can pick up on that, but there's like my black stabilo in there and I just love it. I love the way, you know, she's looking this way, the three red dots, that has so much meaning in Hinduism, in Indian culture, you know, so that showed up. And I'm really paying attention to what is like showing up on my pages, and then I'm going to translate it into my book. Now for this, what I did is that there, you can't see it, but there's a lot of writing underneath, and then I put paint over top of it, and then I did more writing on top of it, and then I put more collage and paint on top of it, and then I just, there's probably like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers, and if you look, like, even though it's covered up, like there's a lot of layers to that. So that's kind of what I've been doing, working in my studio log. And this is a very practical way that I can kind of use this as a bridge, the medial woman, and an incubator. So it's a bridge and a like a compost incubator. All of those like very strong, powerful images come up to me when I'm talking about my studio log now. And then what I can do is I can kind of like go, oh, well, you know what? Yeah, I want more of, you know, this kind of colors. I want more of this kind of imagery. I want, you know, I want this in here. I want, you know, maybe I want like this spiral, just that energy. So now I have this, and I'm going to continue like, you know, communing with my art in my studio log. And this is not like all done. I'm not. It's like a continual like back and forth. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back in here and I'm gonna say, you know what, yeah, I like this image, but I don't think that it's really, I don't think it's the image for this particular book. I want something more like this. Like I may not be able to replicate it 100%, and that's not the goal. But what I do want to do is I want to kind of turn this into more something like this. So what I need to do first is I need to make the face a lot smaller because I want more of the body to show through. So, you know, I'm just gonna start covering stuff up with some collage here. But if I had not kind of explored this in this way in my studio log, I might look at this and go, well, I don't really like it, but I don't know where it wants to go. I don't know what I want to do. Do you see what I mean? Like, I would be like, okay, I know I don't like this, or I could be like very wishy-washy about it. Like, and even at the start of this video, I was like very wishy-washy about it. I was like, well, you know, it could stay, it could go, you know, but then now even in this video, me talking about it, explaining it, and I'm like, no, actually I want this. So do you see how even in this short space of this video, me just kind of articulating it, voicing it. I'm like, no, actually, this is what I want. And so this now becomes like a guidepost. It may not turn out like exactly like that, but I know, okay, I want this image. I want her face to be smaller. I want her body to be larger. I want this, I want that, you know. So do you see how like the studio log can be so helpful? And another thing I do is when I'm working in my studio log is I put on Dr. Clara's Pingola SDs, of course, of course, of course. And I listen to her stuff and I just like totally like I'm zoned out. Like, I'm sorry, not zoned out in like, a, you know, any kind of negative sense, but I'm more like in the flow. I'm not overthinking my decisions. I'm just kind of like, more like in the present moment. And that way I can access a lot more of my, you know, the deeper layers of my psyche. And it's kind of like I was explaining, my studio log is like a, it's like an incubator, and I put all these different things in there. And I even have another studio log, and this particular studio log is Connie Solera's. I won it on the first night I was in Oaxaca. And generally, I use a cheap line composition notebook because I like the lines, you know, where I can write. But what I've also started doing is just taking my glue stick and just like sticking down things, whether it's collage, whether it's you know, words, whether it's a color, line, whatever. They could be mine, or they could be, I don't know, something I just found somewhere, you know. But that's what I've started doing in my studio log. And basically it becomes like compost. And you can do that. You can even take like a famous artist that you really like, just say, I don't know, Egon Schiele. Like for me, I love his work. And, you know, I can just stick down images of his in my studio log, or I can like rip them up so that they're more abstracted and they're not like an image, but say, oh, I really love this line, I love this color, I love this color combination, I love this palette, I love whatever. And you know, just stick it down in my studio log. You can even take like say Egon Schiele and Van Gogh, and like you can take 3 or 4 different artists and, you know, just abstract it, cut out little pieces and stick them down. You know, use your own visual language, like your own stuff as well, and just mix it all up. It's kind of like compost, because actually I am gardening now, and what I'm realizing is there are so many lessons that I can learn from gardening that apply to my creativity. It's kind of crazy. And you know, every little bit of like scrap I put in my compost is going to break down, and it's going to turn into that rich, fertile, black, you know, gorgeous gold, really black gold. And it's going to, you know, enrich my soil. It's going to grow whatever I put in there, wildflowers, vegetables, whatever. So it's the same thing, you know, you can put all this stuff in your studio log, and yeah, like just let it percolate. And now you take a little bit of, oh, I love this line from Chile, and I love this color palette of Van Gogh. I love, you know, this whatever of another artist, and I love this of my own visual language. And now I'm just gonna like put it all together, and, you know, I'm gonna create something new or different, or, you know, I'm gonna grow something out of it. So that's kind of where I am with using my studio log. It did not start off that way. I started using my studio log very much writing, and you know, that worked for me for quite some time. But now I'm like, no, I want to use it in a little bit of a different way. So see, so I am kind of, her face is still a bit too big, honestly. Face needs to be a little bit smaller here, but okay, you guys, I'm gonna leave this here because I do want this to dry. And Let me see. Is that going to be enough? Yeah, that might be. I don't know. I don't know if I want to make her face smaller still. Maybe. Maybe I do. But anyways, I hope that this has been interesting and inspiring, and I hope that this has kind of given you like, you know, just different ways to use your studio log. It has been a really important tool for me, and it's been essential for me to create work that's meaningful and just to strengthen my use and my knowledge and my practical application and use of my own visual language. Anyways, you guys, if you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.